Hey, it's Pronounced Bag and I'm Adam, and in this video I'm going to show you some detail about the Legit Speed Design license plate bracket. I've had it on the car for about a year. I'm going to take it off, just kind of inspect it, see how things look, but I figured while I was in the middle of installing this sweet Aerofab front splitter that I would show you how it looks like from the back while the bumper's off to let people understand exactly how this thing mounts up. So this is kind of a one-year review and how to install it video all in one. Stay tuned. All right, so this is pretty much it for the Legit Speed Designs license plate bracket for the Mark 7 Golf R. This is the backing plate that you'll slide through the grill, and this is the front plate that, this is the 4 mounting points that sandwich there, and then you have adjustability, pretty broad adjustability, I think for about 1.5 or 2 inches side to side that you can mount your front plate. So I just took this off my car, or my bumper, and one thing that's really nice about this piece is that it has these foam strips on the back here. I just took this off and there was a little bit of gravel that had gotten in here over time. And so I just brushed it out. And I'll show you some detail on my bumper to see what it looks like, if there's any damage. There's probably not any more damage than the rest of that grill because of all the gravel that just hits it from normal driving anyway. So let's take a look at some detail. Okay, so I just did a quick little cleanup on this, and you can see the camera picks up a ton of detail of all the specs that are all over this. So there's the leading edge, all the way over to these ones where the foam is clamped on it. Nothing really majorly different. If anything, they're in better shape. So on this backing plate that I have, there is a VW671 3D printed in here. I think that's a throwback to his username on the forums back in the day. Probably still is his username, but it's not exposed anywhere. But that's a good indication to know that you have the right side up. So what you're gonna do is you're going to take the backing plate, turn it sideways, go through to the right one, and you're going to basically hold underneath with your hand. I hope you can see this. And then you're able to kind of flip it sideways. You got to be pretty careful as you're doing this to just kind of hold it in place and just take your time and be really slow. And you're able to just kind of hook that on there and it will rest in place. If you drop it back in there, it'll fall down on a shield that is not the splash shield, so it'll be hard to get. You'll have to use some tools to get it out. But then what you're able to do is, make sure that your old piece here is nice and clean. You take this, you get your fingers through, sandwich this together, and get your hardware lined up and screwed into the holes there. All right, so now the bracket is installed. I've got the 4 screws holding kind of that clamp piece in. You can see some cool detail there where they have Legit Speed 3D printed into this bracket. Let's take a look at the backside. All right, so here's a quick shot from looking behind the bumper. You just have these grill slats going across, and you got your backing plate here that is just holding it all in place. And you can see how perfectly aligned this backing plate is to fit right in the right spot. Now there are 5 different adjustment holes from left to right. So I had it all the way out at one point. It really doesn't hang out too far. Although sometimes walking around the front edge of the car, you can kind of hang your leg up on it. So I'm shifting all the way to the inside to just see how that looks and feels, but it's pretty easy to change. All right, so that was my really quick review of having the Legit Speed Design license plate bracket for the Mark 7 Golf R for 1 year. Actually, pretty funny story. I bought this before I even bought the car, so I've had it longer than I have had the car, but it was the first thing that I made sure to do because I didn't have a front license plate mount. Fortunately, someone decided not to drill it out, so I had to get this guy to run it.